Now, by Mohammed Munir, a professor in virology at Lancaster University, coming to us live from Lancaster in the United Kingdom. Thank you so much for your time. Can you tell me, sir, how dangerous is this outbreak of hantavirus, given that it is on a cruise ship?
This is the first hantavirus outbreak on the water in a cruise ship. So therefore, there is quite a lot of stuff that needed to be unfolded in coming days and weeks. So one of the critical thing here is that how the virus is spreading within the people, those are on board. And that is really one of the decisive things that we have to identify before we can make any conclusion what would be the impact of this infection moving forward. So the impact is quite high because what I can see is that there is some level of human-to-human transmission happening, as WHO indicated, primarily because if the crew members are infected, therefore it is not an exclusive possibility that the people who were unfortunately died, they were only the carriers. So there must have been some sort of transmission ongoing in a conducive environment where the aerosolized material could be the source of the contamination.
Yeah, given that it does have such a long asymptomatic period after transmission, if I've got that right, please tell me if I don't, how worried are you about other cases being found on this ship at this point?
Yeah, it has certainly a very long incubation period compared to many other viruses, so up to 8 weeks, which means that if the person is infected today, up until the 8 weeks can start showing clinical signs. And this is also a very important point as well, in the sense that if it would not have a very long period of time, around 150 people, those are on board, probably would have already been infected. So this is one of the reasons that the spread isn't really one of the very easy way of sort of communicating the virus between the people, but at the same time, the time by which the person is infected and showing the clinical sign is also lengthy, which adds one layer of complexity, is that by the time we will be identifying who is actually infected and who is likely to be infected or who will show the clinical sign is going to take a longer time compared to the other diseases which have relatively shorter incubation period.
So given that, Professor, and that the ship is not allowed to dock at the moment, should the cruise line be getting people off, or should those passengers expect they may have to have an extended stay?
I think this is a very important question, because if we're going to contain this infection, the containment has to be done within that environment, which is an isolated capsule. But at the same time, I can understand the emotions and the feeling associated with those people who are on board and will not be allowed to disembark on any of the places. But that is really the question that has to be addressed at a multiple stakeholder level. But from a public health perspective, it is really important that the infection is contained and the proper measures are being put in place. When I say proper measures, meaning that the people who are in their cabins, they have to be isolated within the cabins. They will be allowed to have the masks. They have to be contained in an environment that the virus, if it is spreading from one person to another person, which is likely the case, it is minimal possible so that the impact and the death toll, unfortunately, can be minimized.
Yeah, there will be passengers watching these sorts of interviews, and no doubt cruise ship workers as well, who will remember a time not so long ago that passengers on cruise ships were not allowed off as a disease, or a virus rather, spread through. There will be concern, as you said, from passengers on those ships and also the likes of land authorities. How worried should passengers be on that boat that they will be exposed or that they may catch the virus?
Well, there is certainly a concern, and if there would have not been the concern, they have all been allowed to disembark. So the concern is right out there. I think the question really lies is that how elegantly the control measures are put in place within the cruise, because there are measures, if we properly adapt to properly isolate the people, continue testing and ensuring people who are infected are given the right supportive therapy, and they are the ones who are isolated in a way that they do not pass the infections on. So if proper measures are being put in place, there are fair chances that the virus cannot spread across the passenger to the level it could do that. But this is really a challenge. The challenge in the sense that everything is on the water, and this is the first time hantavirus has been as an outbreak within the cruise and on the water. So there are a lot of challenges moving forward.
Professor Mohammed Munir joining us from Lancaster University, a virologist. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.